Hey there and welcome back to Blacklist Universe. This is Mike. I am your host, and if you are not already familiar with this image, this is the Death of Joker from the Injustice comic book series, which I was a primary artist for, in case you didn't know. Before we jump into that, allow me 30 seconds to introduce myself. My name is Mike S. Miller, 32-year professional comic book creator, video game concept artist, writer, blah blah blah. I'm the creator of multiple intellectual properties including Imaginaries, Deal with the Devil, Six Gun Samurai, and Lone Star. Available to pre-order at lonestarcomic.com, link in the description below. Our vision here at Blacklist Universe is ultimately to create a multimedia venture to bring quality and ethics back to storytelling. We're tired of the DEI woke agenda ruining every book, comic, game, movie, and TV show, and we're bound and determined to do something about it. If that sounds good to you, then join us by subscribing and maybe even supporting us as a channel member. No one can fight the culture war alone. We're here to fight and to make a difference, and we hope you are too. And one more thing, I do a weekly live stream at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time called Drawn and Quartered, where me and a group of my other professional artist friends get together and draw and chat and have a good time, and we would love for you to join us. Now back to the video. So this is the comic series that sort of cemented my name in DC Comics lore. We had 3 artist teams on the project, and so I did about a third of the entire Injustice series. I got to do a lot of the coolest scenes. The death of the Joker, the death of Lois Lane, the death bunch of deaths. We killed everybody in Injustice. Ultimately, I got to be known as the Injustice artist because of this key frame right here. I'm the guy that killed the Joker. And so, as you do as an artist or as a creator / writer, when you're drawing things, your imagination kind of goes away with you. And so you start imagining other ways stories can go. How can this deviate into something different? And in this particular case, I thought it would be really cool to do another direction for the way the Joker dies, and he doesn't just sort of fade off. And like, I know in the book there are these like Joker face mask guys, but I thought it would be really cool if the death of Joker spawned an entire movement of other psychotics, and I called them the Psyclowns, and you'll see them in the next page here, but right now you can just kind of walk through I thought it might be interesting for some of you guys to actually watch the process of drawing of a comic book page. And this is I wasn't working digitally when I was doing Injustice, so all of the pages are traditional, so I didn't have a chance to actually record anything. But in doing this little vignette of the Joker, the Psyclowns, what happens next, I did happen to do it digitally, and I even colored it and tried to make it match the color sense of the original coloring for that part of Injustice. And I have a little bit of experience with this, with the whole reimagining thing, because like I said, as you're doing this, you start imagining things, right? You start thinking about story arcs and story possibilities and whatnot, and most of my suggestions during Injustice were wholeheartedly ignored. One time I can't remember what the situation was, but I asked Tom, I told Tom and I told our editor how a scene should go, and then Tom ignored me like completely. And then later on I was like, hey, didn't you get that message? I'm like, why'd you ignore me? He said, he literally said, because I knew you were right. He didn't want to change his script because he knew I was right about the way it was, like a Batman and Superman interaction scene. But yeah, whatever. A prophet is not respected in his own hometown, I guess. Anyways, as I was saying, sometimes you have these ideas, and one of the ideas I had during the interim between Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, I had come up with a pitch for how Injustice 2 should and would go, right? I was doing conventions at the time, and I would tell people like this idea. You talk a lot about the stuff that you're working on, and obviously a lot of fans would come up. This was the great thing about Injustice, is I'd have fans come up and say, this is the first comic book I've ever read. This is the first. And that was something for me that was super important, because to me, I love comic books. I love the medium, and I want it to spread. And Injustice was really the first comic I'd worked on in my 30-year history in comics where I had people coming up and telling me that this introduced them to comics, and now they were comic fans. And I'm like, that's what we need in this industry. That's exactly what we need in this industry. So anyways, so Injustice became really important to me. As such, I had an idea for Injustice 2, and like I said, I was pitching it to everybody. And particularly where I would pitch this idea was in Chicago, because Chicago is where NetherRealms is. And every single time I do a Chicago con, whether it's C2E2 or Wizard World or whatever, people from NetherRealms would come to my booth, and I would have them sign this print that I had of this scene, right? Because I was like, it'd be cool to like get everybody from NetherRealms to sign this scene. I wonder where that print is. It doesn't matter. What I would do is I would pitch them this idea for Injustice 2, like every single, and they all loved it, right? Except for the writer. The writer. I pitched it to one of the writers who came to my table, and he goes, "We don't take outside pitches." I don't even know what that guy's name was, but it was after that con I got a call from, I think his name was Chris Arendt, who ran NetherRealms, and he's like, "One of my guys told me about your pitch for Injustice 2. I love it." And then he started complaining about the writers at NetherRealms. I don't want to say too much, but he was not happy with what they were doing, and he loved what I was doing. So NetherRealms and Warner Brothers hired me, got a contract, got a paycheck, all that stuff. I wrote an entire treatment for Injustice 2, and they absolutely loved it. They were freaking gaga for it. I'm going to have to dig up these emails and find, I don't know. I haven't even done it yet, so I'll look up and see if I have any emails to show what, like, their reaction. They freaking loved it. And then they ghosted me. They ghosted me, and they killed my story like Superman's killing Joker in this scene. And unfortunately, I'm under an NDA, so I cannot discuss the entire scope of the story, which really sucks because you guys know Comicstorian. He made his channel off of Injustice, millions and millions and millions of views on my Injustice artwork on his channel. And so I was friends with Benny, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to do the Injustice 2 storyline for a video? And, maybe I could do some art for it, blah, blah, blah." And that would have been huge, right? That would have been huge. But I talked to Warner Brothers, I talked to DC, I talked to NetherRealms. They ran me through legal, and they came back and said, "You're still under NDA." And at this point, it's like, Injustice 2 has been out for years. They're obviously not going to use my story. And I can't tell it. I can't tell you guys this fantastic story that everybody who read loved. But you know what I can do? All that stuff that I pitched to NetherRealms prior to the fact, that was all out there in the open already. So why can't I don't know, maybe illustrate that pitch? I don't want to just say it, right? The pitch is so great. But maybe I could just illustrate it up to that point, and then maybe do some redesign videos on Injustice characters the way I would have done them. In fact, I think I'll do that tonight on Drawn and Quartered. Come on by Wednesday nights for our live stream on Drawn and Quartered. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll start doing a series of reimagining Injustice, or maybe even Injustice 2, the way I would have done it. Being very careful not to step on the toes of my non-disclosure agreement. And I don't know, maybe someday, one of these days, if NetherRealms comes, or Warner Brothers, or whatever, comes to the realization that they're never, ever going to use my story, that they'll let me tell the story. Because it's a lot of fun. And it brought a lot more of DC into the Injustice story than Injustice itself did. So I don't know. It is something I want to do. If you want to see that, man, please stick around, subscribe, because I don't know when I'll be able to do this stuff, The Injustice stuff I'll probably get started on soon after I kind of clear my table. I'm kind of behind on a project right now for a client, and I haven't even been working on my own stuff. But when my time frees up and I can do dedicated Injustice stuff, that is what I will be doing here on this channel. So please do subscribe and ring that bell for all notifications so you know when that comes up. And you can check it out if you're an Injustice fan, or if you're just a fan of art and design and seeing how all this stuff goes. Anyways, this is it. This is how the Joker ignited the Cyclowns, if that were ever to be a thing, which, you know, let's just call it a 2-page Elseworlds story. Have that be that. Thanks y'all for being here. Please do like, subscribe, do all those fun things, and I will hopefully see you guys all on the next video.